Butterflies using colored pencil with Mr. G. Alright, we're going to try to do this fairly simply by starting with just a circle for the head. Then we are going to draw the next segment, which is called the thorax. And then finally we'll put the abdomen, which is the bottom part there. Interesting thing about the butterfly is each side of its wing is symmetrical, which means it is the same on one side as it is the other side. So we try to do that our very best. It might look like a little person with their arms way outstretched. So that's kind of how I started it, maybe looking like they're just people wings, I guess. Now this is not perfectly symmetrical, and yours may or may not be. When we work on the big one, I'll show you a little bit of tips and tricks to make yours a little bit more symmetrical. But this is kind of what a butterfly would look like. There's also moths. They look different. They have different wings. So you can look at, if you're at home, you can look at pictures of butterflies, and it makes you allows you to see what's there, and probably makes it a little bit easier. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of different examples of how wings can be different, how you might want to do yours. So you can look at these ones. There's wings tucked underneath. And there's just a simple butterfly right there. That one's done. Now we'll flip over the paper and work on our main one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly make a rectangle. You don't have to do this, but it helps with the symmetry of the butterfly. So if you get a rectangle about the size of your butterfly and then split that in half, and then you can split it into thirds on either side. Doesn't have to be perfectly even, but it'll help you with one side to the other. Once again, I'm just going to start with the head, and then we'll add the thorax and then the abdomen, just right down the center line of your rectangle. That'll help out a lot to keep things kind of symmetrical. You can just take your time doing this. It helps to take your time, keep things in line. And honestly, this is probably the part that most people don't even look at when they're looking at your butterfly. We'll stick some eyes on either side. They're kind of like egg-shaped eyes, just kind of slanted. They're not circular, a little bit egg-shaped. And so I think to help me get the wings symmetrical, I'm going to divide either one of those rectangles on the either side in half, and that'll help me get things a little bit more even on both sides, kind of a mirrored image. And I'm going to do this pretty slowly, and what I'm going to do is, you'll notice I'll go one side and then I'm going to go to the other side with everything that I do, and then you can kind of see how those things even out a little bit. Again, I bet it probably won't be perfect. If you use a ruler, this might work out even better. Then you could be really precise if you wanted to do a really good job on that. But you don't have to do that. Just this will help get things a little bit more symmetrical. Notice now how I'm going to use the graph. I'm going to take these little points right here and go right down into the corner of each of the squares. So they are absolute mirror images of each other. And then I'm going to come around and connect those. And those should connect on the square. And I'm noticing it's not connecting on like the corner of the square, so I'm going to have to switch that around right there. There, I made that little fix, and now we're back to being somewhat symmetrical. I'm going to put another wing on either side, and it's going to go underneath. You can kind of do whatever you want to here. I think people will be able to tell it's a butterfly, but that graph helps out so much. Now it's kind of the fun part. You can just go and do whatever you want to. Whatever you put on one side, you put on the other side. And again, see how helpful this graph is? I made a little bit of a mistake there. So I'm glad that that was there so I could see it. And now I'm just going to add just kind of whatever you want to do. I mean, you could do circles, squares, stripes. It doesn't really matter. This is kind of your own. Be as creative as you would like to be. And of course, now that you have your design done, you can pretty much do what you want to as far as colors go. Now with colored pencil, you want to do these little tiny, watch how I'm going in little circle patterns, just very, very lightly is what I'm doing. This is scrumping So you just go little circle patterns very lightly. You're not pushing down very hard. And so if you really want it to be a professional looking colored pencil, you spend a lot of time doing this. You don't have to do, a ton of time, but it does help make your drawing look a lot better. And it's certainly a lot better than just scribbling it in like one would do with a crayon. And this helps to do some really nice gradation too. So you're adding a nice gradient from dark to light. We've done that before a couple different times in this class. Again, always keep in mind that whatever you do on one side, you do the same color on the other side. I'm going to speed this up now so you can see how it all unfolds. Again, I don't want you to copy mine. I want you to do your own. I'm going to slow down just for a second so you can kind of see this technique of blending two different colors together. We've done this before as well, but just look at how lightly I'm doing this and adding this purple over this beautiful blue and looking at the colors that it makes, and then just watch how I'll mirror this on the other side so it looks close to the other side. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more gradation to both sides. See right up here, I'm just doing this kind of circularly, very lightly. And all of a sudden that area becomes kind of a little bit of light purple and light blue all together. So you might want to experiment with that when you're changing colors on yours. I'm going to slow things down just for a second to point out that at some point you can take your eraser and get rid of that graph now, because everything's symmetrical. You don't have to have that there anymore. You don't need it. And just want to clean it up. As a matter of fact, if you look at it now, it looks like it's pretty complete. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this, and then I'm going to add the shadow. We'll get to that in just a sec. One final thing we're going to do is we're going to add a shadow in there. If you look at these that I've done earlier, you notice that it looks like they're kind of sitting on top of the paper. That's because I've added a little bit of a drop shadow to them. And that's what we're going to do with our butterfly. So notice how I'm holding my pencil. I'm going to go very, very lightly, very, very lightly, and just start adding a little bit of a shadow sticking out. That you can almost barely see it. And then I'm just going to do this throughout the bottom part of the butterfly, because that's where the shadow is going to stick out. I'm going to assume that the light is coming from the top and going down. I'm going to add a little shadow under this antenna. Notice it's not going to go curved, it's going to go straight because that antenna is curved. So it's just going to go straight from the eye to the end of the antenna. And lastly, I'm going to take a Q-tip, or you can use your finger or a piece of paper towel, and then I'm just going to smooth it out. And then you'll have your drop shadow. Thanks for watching!